Hi, I'm Karen Rose, and we're here today to celebrate the release day of my 21st novel, Death Is Not Enough, and it's the 6th in my Baltimore series. And we hope you all enjoy it. It's Gwen and Thorn's story, and I fell in love with the two of them, and I hope you love them too. It's available already in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland, but it is just available today in the US and Canada. So I hope all your readers here enjoy it. Now, to celebrate, we are doing a Q&A, and I appreciate all the questions that you guys sent in. We've picked a few, and so we're going to answer them now. So Mary asks, who is your favorite couple? I don't pick favorites because they know, and then they get really kind of ticked off with me. So my husband will then say, you know, these people aren't really real, right? But they're real to me. I think my favorite couple will probably always be, well, no, I can't even say. I mean, I was going to say one thing, but then another couple popped in my head. So how about if I just say it's the couple I just finished, which would be the couple in the book that's coming out in February, and that's Daisy and Gideon. So I'm going to leave it there, but I love them all. Now, this question is from Laura. Laura says, do you have friends in law enforcement that help with research for procedure? And I do. One of my go-to guys, and you can read his books too, because they're available online, is Jeff Simon. And it's Symon, and he is a forensic investigator with more than 20 years with the FBI. And he has written some very approachable, accessible for lay people books on crime scene investigation, autopsies, and a lot of other topics. And I really have enjoyed the books, and he is a friend, and so he does help me. Sometimes I don't like the answers he gives me, but he always gives me the real answer, and then I have to make my peace with it. But apparently we've been led astray by many TV shows. So I usually ask him if something is possible to know from an autopsy or a crime scene, and he'll tell me. Like I said, I don't always like the answers, but he gives me good ones. Okay, so Farhano says, I absolutely love that all your books occur in the same universe. Me too. Thank you. It started with Don't Tell. Do you think your books will come full circle and end with another story in Chicago? Well, I hope they don't end. So I hope it's one of those like spiral things instead of a circle. So because I don't want to have to stop writing. But I will be coming back to Chicago at some point in the future. And some of the Chicago characters, one in particular, you're going to meet again soon, and he's grown up, and will be in the book that comes out in February, and it's called Say You're Sorry. So, and he's not in Chicago at the time. He's in California because that's where the book takes place. But there will be some future Chicago books. Alex says, are you planning to go back to the Chicago gang? So apparently I do need to go back to Chicago. I fell down the Karen Rose rabbit hole with them, and they're near and dear to my heart, and I'm still not over the fact that Murphy doesn't have a book. Actually, I know exactly what Murphy's book is going to be, and they've all gotten a little bit older. Occasionally, you will be able to catch up with characters in the Chicago books. The Cincinnati book that came out this past February had a cameo appearance by Abe Reagan and Mia Mitchell. So you will, and Dana was in that book too, and that was Edge of Darkness. So yeah, so that one, if you pick that one up, you'll get to see some cameos and catch up with where they are. However, I will be returning to Chicago to write some stories there at some point in the future. They're in my queue. Emily says, what name did Paige and Grayson give their little girl? It's not in Death Is Not Enough. Well, Death Is Not Enough came out in the UK several months ago. So my UK readers have already read it. So I'm assuming Emily is probably in one of those countries. Paige and Grayson do have a little girl, and you see the little girl in the book, and her name is Olivia Judith, because Olivia was Paige's best friend from Minnesota, and Judith is the name of Grayson's mother. So that's her name. Sarah says, how do you go about naming your characters? Is there a specific process, or do they just come to you? I have some databases that I pull from, and one of them is the Social Security Administration's baby name database. And you can go back to, I think, like sometime in the late 1880s and see what were the most popular names for any given year in the United States. So when I'm especially if I'm writing someone who's older. I probably wouldn't write someone who was in their 80s and give them a name that's popular today. So I would go back to when they were born and see what the popular names were, and choose something like that. Sometimes I will just open a phone book. I kept a couple of the old-fashioned phone books and just flip the pages and stick my finger down. And sometimes they are people who I know who've wanted to be in a book, who want to be killed off in a book, or they want to be the villain, or they want to be the good guy in the book. So I have used the names of people I know, always with permission. Caroline says, when will your next book be out after Death Is Not Enough? And Death Is Not Enough is available today in the US and Canada, and the next book worldwide release is Say You're Sorry, and it comes out in February. And you'll get to meet some new characters, some old characters, and some really old characters that have grown up. Okay, and Janet says, are you going back to Cincinnati for Diesel and Danny's story? I think this is the most common question I get. And yes, I'm actually writing their story right now. So it will be out sometime in late 2019, early 2020, depending on where you live in the world. So yes, Diesel and Danny are getting a book. I'm writing it now, and Diesel he just makes me, he makes my heart hurt because he's just such a good person, and such terrible things have happened to him. So yes, they're going to get a book. Thank you very much for all your questions. I hope you got some good answers, and I hope you enjoy Thorin and Gwen's story and Death Is Not Enough.